Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Such an honor for me to be here in Japan for the second time. And last year, when I was visited Japan for the first time, I decided that I will come anyhow. So thanks, first of all, for the organizers having me on board. Thanks for Jay Aiba, chairman of CPEC Japan, and thanks for the Schleps putting, CPEC all together. Because within the past years, CPEC has become one of the most influential hub of conservative people, conservative minds, both in US and in global aspects as well. So Hungary is the only European country hosting CPEC, and I think it is evident, that it was evident that, it should be in Hungary, because Hungary is the most conservative people. It's the last shelter for conservative people in Europe. So these are the good news. But we must never forget that we are in the 11th hour. So the theme of the very conference is indeed right. Our bird is balancing on the brink. And we have reached a fork in the road, and the direction the left wants us to take leads us to nowhere but abyss. The Western liberal elite has become so opportunistic and corrupt that it threatens our security and the very survival of our civilization. So every policy coming from either Brussels or the liberal elite of Washington, D.C. threatens us, and it's utterly self-defeating. Look at the immigration policies and see the pro-Hamas, pro-terror marches all across the streets of European big cities. Look at the social justice warriors and see the burning cities in the US, all across the US, set ablaze by the social justice warriors of BLM. Or look at the sanctions imposed on Russia by the European Union and see the surplus in the Russian budget, and see Germany, which used to be the engine of the European growth, declining, ending up in recession. So there is only one Western nation that has so far refused to join this collective suicide, or seppuku, if you like. And I am privileged to call this country my home, Hungary. And there is one specific reason. We will talk a lot about the other factors, but there is one specific reason, I think, because of Hungary managed to avoid the influence of the woke cult and the cancer culture. And this is because I think we have a better immune system than most of the countries. And in historical terms, it's because we were recently infected by the plague of socialism, of communism. And we not only survived, but we beat it. And, with regard to what the great Chinese thinker before China went to communism, so Sun Tzu, or Sun Shi in Japanese, said to know your enemy. I think we know the enemy. We in Hungary, we know the enemy. We know what their goal is. We know their thinking. We know how they want to influence us, how they want to harm and confuse us, how they want to, push the gender ideology. And, this is why they hate us. So when we banned the gender ideology from our schools and kindergartens, they exploded with rage. When we declared in our constitution that the mother is a woman and father is a man, which seems to be, self-evident, however, it was necessary, our leftist opponents seethed with anger. And you see, my friends, that the communists, they never forgot the advice of Karl Marx. And not be mistaken, when we are talking about the woke cult, when we are talking about the cancel culture, or the LGBTQA plus I, whatever, even the Batman sign if you want. We are talking about communists, nothing more. And they have always tried to destroy the traditional family because it is the tallest and the ultimate citadel that protects our children from their influence. And Hungary will protect this citadel with everything we got. Our national survival demands it. And this is why we passed the so-called Child Protection Act. And this is why we created the most effective family support policies the Western world has ever seen. And as a result, in 10 years, the number of marriages in Hungary doubled. The number of divorces has plummeted. The number of abortions halved. And the total fertility rate has increased with 30% in 10 years. So this is something, I guess. Young moms receive generous maternity benefits. Women with 4 or more children, so for example, my wife, she will never pay income tax once again. So she doesn't have to choose between her career and you know, his family. I think I ran out of time, but my final point before we start our discussion is let us join all the conservative forces in protecting our children and say no to woke cults, say no to gender ideology.